wish you all a happy new year. I know this year has already been off to a rocky start, but my number one goal for 2021 is to beat this virus. So please, all of you, make sure to wear a mask, social distance, stay safe, and keep others safe. Thank you! My other goal is to upload a lot more consistently on this channel and also just create a lot of more unique and fun content for you guys. So make sure to subscribe for my channel for more sewing and DIY fashion videos. For my first video of 2021, I have a sewing tutorial for you guys. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the really popular Chanel suit. It's such an iconic and timeless set, so I knew that I wanted to make this and show you guys how to make it. I got this beautiful pink and purple tweed fabric from my local fabric store, but they only had like about 1.5 meters left, so I just hope I have enough fabric. We are making a jacket and a skirt, which will probably require more than that, so I don't know. I just hope I have enough fabric. You're also going to need about 1.5 meters of fabric. I got this really beautiful dusty pink color which ties in with the pink in the tweed perfectly. And you're also going to need some interfacing. So let's get started with the tutorial. Before starting the tutorial, I wanted to show you guys this fashion design journal that was gifted to me. It has a bunch of different silhouettes and design ideas and pages where you can draw your own designs. So for the tweed set, you're going to need 2 front pieces, 1 back piece, 2 sleeves, 2 skirt pieces, and multiple rectangles for the waistband and for the frayed trimmings. For the jacket, I will be using this puffer jacket as a template, and for the skirt, I'm using an A-line skirt I already own. Place the jacket onto some paper. Yes, I always use wrapping paper, don't judge. I also want the jacket to be cropped, so I marked where I want it to end and basically just trace the outline of the front. After, add ½ inch of seam allowance all around. Repeat the same thing for the back and for the sleeves. Now for the skirt, I fold it in half and trace the outline, and make sure to trace below the waistband. Same thing as the jacket, add ½ inch of seam allowance. Next, cut out all of the pattern pieces, and enjoy this little cutting time lapse. With the fabric on fold, cut out all of the pattern pieces. What helps me is tracing the pattern onto the paper first, pinning the 2 layers of fabric together, and then cutting it out. For the waistband, cut a 3-inch wide rectangle that is the size of your waist, plus 1 to 2 inches for seam allowance. And then once your CAD gets out of the way, cut straight down the center of the front piece. And that'll give you 2 symmetrical front pieces. Also do the same thing for the back piece of the skirt. I got the 2 sleeves over here, and the skirt with the waistband, and then the front and back piece. You'll also want to cut out all of the pieces in the lining fabric. For the interfacing, trace the center front of the jacket and the collar, and then add 1.5 inches to the inside of that marking. You'll need to cut out 2 of these, and 1 piece for the back collar. It should give something like this. Cut out 1 last piece of interfacing for the waistband. I had enough fabric to cut all of the pieces out, which I'm really happy about, and I even have a bit of extra fabric left. So what I'm gonna do with this, I do want to add like 2 little pockets on the front, and also I've seen this on almost all of the tweed Chanel suits, is the little like frayed edges at the cuffs, and honestly just at all of the edges I want to add that. And to do that, I think I'm just going to cut as many 1-inch wide strips of fabric as possible. So with the remaining fabric, cut multiple 1-inch wide strips of fabric, enough to go around the bottom of the skirt, the cuffs, the collar, the center front, and the bottom of the jacket. For the pockets, cut out 2 rectangles that are 5 by 4.5 inches. And we're going to add 2 tiny strips of fabric for the frayed trimming. And now for the fun part, we can start sewing. I think I'm going to start with the skirt just because it's easier to do. So I put the front and back skirt right sides together like this, and then pinned the sides. And I'm just going to sew that down. I sewed it in at 1/2 inch with a straight stitch and added a zigzag stitch next to it because this fabric frays like crazy. If you're working with tweed, make sure to always finish off the edges. Get your zipper out and place it on the back of the skirt. Leave an extra inch on the top for the waistband and mark the end of the zipper. Place the back pieces right sides together and sew until you reach the marking. And that will leave enough space for the zipper. Repeat the same steps for the skirt lining, so sew the sides and the back piece until it reaches the zipper. Iron the interfacing onto the waistband and iron the zipper opening, like that will make it easier to sew the zipper on later. Place the lining and the tweed skirt right sides together and sew the 2 layers at the bottom. Tweed is actually surprisingly easy to sew. I thought because of how bulky it is, it would be a hassle, but it glides pretty smoothly through the sewing machine. And of course I added a zigzag stitch at the edge. Now we can flip the lining to the inside of the skirt and we can add the waistband. Pin the waistband right sides together to the skirt like this and sew it. However, for the ends, you're going to want to sew the waistband only to the tweed fabric so that the lining is separated. So it's time to do the thing that I hate the most, attaching the zipper. Last time I made a skirt, I had so many problems with the zipper. I had to restart it like 3 times. So this time I'm going to try a different way. So what I'm going to do is sew it to the lining first. To do that, pin the zipper to the lining like this and sew it. I recommend using a zipper foot to sew as close as possible to the zipper teeth. Once you get to the zipper head, lift the presser foot and zip it so that it's out of the way and continue sewing. And then repeat the same thing to the other side. And the zipper should look like this. To prevent the zipper from getting caught in the lining, sew a top stitch. Next, pin the tweed fabric to the zipper and top stitch it down. For the zipper to be invisible, you want the fabric to overlap it, so make sure to sew it with the fabric covering the zipper teeth. And here's the zipper. It came out pretty clean. This is the first time I sew a zipper I'm actually proud about. To finish off the waistband, iron the edge in, fold it in half, and pin it. Because the fabric was getting pretty thick and I didn't want the thread to show on the other side, I chose to hand sew the inside of the waistband. I'm using the ladder stitch, so basically you do a tiny stitch in the lining and then a tiny stitch in the waistband. And you repeat this for the entire waistband. Here's how the inside looks. There's no visible stitching, so it keeps everything looking nice and clean. So I'm all done with this skirt. It's looking really good. I tried it on already and it's so cute already. So as you can see, outside it's gotten pretty late. So I think I'm just going to stop here for today because I'm also pretty tired. And then tomorrow I'm going to tackle the jacket. Place the front pieces and back piece right sides together and sew the shoulder seam. Open up the jacket and start pinning the sleeve to the armhole. I like to start by pinning the center and slowly pin it till it reaches the end, and then sew it down. Next, iron the interfacing to the inside of the jacket. So iron it to the center front and to the collar. With the jacket open, it should look something like this. Now it's time to sew the side seams and sleeves. Also repeat these same steps for the jacket lining. Before attaching the lining, we're going to sew the front pockets. Place the trimming 1/3 of an inch below the top of the pocket and sew 2 rows of basting stitches. It should look something like this. To fray the ends, just remove the bottom and top threads until you reach the basting stitches. Sew the top edge of the pocket down and fold the rest of the edges inside and it'll give you these cute little pockets. Try on the jacket and mark where you want to place the pockets. Pin it and sew the edges of the pocket to the jacket. pockets are looking super cute, and I especially love the little frayed edge. Oh, I love it. So the jacket is almost done, and also please excuse that I'm in my PJs. I've been sewing the whole day, so I haven't had the time to change, but I just wanted to show you guys how it looks. It looks so cute already. I just love the pockets. And I also have the same thing in the lining. Just the lining by itself is super cute also. So what I'm going to do to attach these two together is basically put them right sides together. With the lining inside out, I'm going to place it over the main fabric. So like this, the lining is on top of the main fabric and they're both right sides together. So I'm going to sew the front opening and all around the collar. I'm also going to sew just about like a couple inches of the edge over here. So I sewed a bit of the bottom and then sewed all the way up the center front, sewed the collar, and then did the same thing on the other side. And I also added a zigzag stitch just to make sure that it's not going to fray. Now you can flip the jacket inside out and adjust the lining and poke out any corners necessary. Understitch the lining for the center front and collar. To do that, you sew on top of the lining with the seam allowances under, and that prevents the lining from rolling to the outside and will help the edges of the collar to be nice and sharp. Next, flip it inside out another time and sew the bottom of the jacket, but leave a 5-inch gap. Once it's sewn, flip it inside out one more time through the gap and iron the jacket. Iron the edges of the gap to the inside, and we'll close it when we sew the frayed trimmings. To hem the sleeves, fold and iron the edges towards the inside like this, and then just sew the two layers together. Now to add the frayed trims. For the skirt, place it on the bottom hem and sew 2 rows of basting stitches. Carefully remove the threads like this from the top and bottom. I did this fraying technique with jeans once and it took so much time, but because the threads of the tweed are pretty thick, it's pretty easy to remove them. Cut off all of the extra loose threads and here's how it looks. Repeat this for the jacket, so add the trimmings to the cuffs, collar, center front, and bottom. The final step is to add buttons to the pockets. I had these vintage buttons from an old cardigan that I wanted to use, but when I put them on, something felt kinda off. I'm not sure what it is. I think because maybe they're too bronze. So I bought these gold pearl buttons on Etsy, but I don't think they'll arrive in time for the video. So I just put the bronze ones until the new buttons arrive. And we're done. Here's the final transformation. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I have to say this tweed set is definitely in one of my top 5 sewing creations. And on top of that, it was actually surprisingly easy to make. Usually I run into some fitting issues or I just take a lot of time to figure out how to sew something, but I had absolutely no problems at all when making this set. Make sure to follow me on all of my social media platforms at Ali Jansen. I made a little sewing transformation TikTok and also a what I made in 2020 TikTok that you can go check out. And also, if you decide to recreate any of my sewing tutorials, make sure to tag me at Ali Jansen on Instagram, like that I can see them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!